Hello, hello, people trickling in. Welcome. Get comfortable. Get something nice to drink. And relax. Hello, James. Welcome. As y'all are trickling in, please say hello in the chat so we know that you're here. And let us know where you're tuning in from. I'd be interested to know. Hi, Luke. Hey, Lucas. Clara, Ty, Angela. Great. We've got people from America, people from the Czech Republic, Canada, Germany. Yeah, Germany. I'm in Dusseldorf at Wacom's HQ right now. Toronto, France, Mississippi, Indiana, Spain, Brazil, Romania. Oh, great. We've got people from all over the place. Well, wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between. Ireland. Yes, I'm Irish. Yay! Super duper. Well, it looks like we've got great attendance then. So I'll just get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. My name is Molly Hetty Carroll. I am a creature designer, a 2D animator, and I am also the community expert here at Wacom Europe, literally where I am streaming from. And the chat is open. We encourage you to talk to each other, to ask questions for Kelly during the stream. However, there are a couple of rules. Please keep the chat on topic. Please don't share any personal information. And if you don't follow the guidelines, you may unfortunately be asked to leave. But anyway, getting the housekeeping out of the way, we have a wonderful lecture today. And our speaker is an educator and a senior concept artist, Kelly Daley. How are you, Kelly?
I'm doing just fine. Hi, guys. I'm excited you're here.
I'm excited as well. So Kelly's going to be sharing with us today insights into being a game artist and the blueprints for creating a outstanding portfolio. I'm very excited about this as well. I have my notebook ready and my pen. I'd recommend everybody else take notes during this lecture as well. And I hope everyone is as excited about this as I am. Kelly, anything you want to share before we begin?
Not much, but definitely be taking notes. I think that is really helpful to make sure that you remember this stuff long term. So pull out your pen and paper or pull out your Google document, please.
Oh, great. I see in the chat that people are taking notes. So that's great, great, great. All right. Well, I think if you're ready, Kelly, we can begin. Hang on to your portfolio, folks, because it's going to be an educational ride.
All right, let's do it. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Right on. Okay, guys. Welcome to the Portfolio Blueprint to Land a Game Concept Artist Job. This is basically the secret to building a hireable portfolio, something that I feel like is not talked about enough as to why you need certain things in your portfolio, especially in this day and age with AI creeping into the pipeline and that kind of stuff. It's really important. So that is the topic today. I wanted to talk about who I am and why you should believe me. I am Kelly Daley, as you know. I am a senior concept artist in the video game industry. I also teach little tutorials online through like Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. I also run my own classes outside of my full-time job. So I'm a teacher at Brainstorm Academy. And I have worked at companies such as Hidden Leaf Games, Easy Games, Wild Blue, Manticore, Lenovo Legion, and more. I feel like when you do enough contract work, you have no idea where you worked at. Eventually, the list goes too long. Anywho, so that's me. Before we get into all the portfolio stuff, which I know you guys are here for, I need to rewind a bit and tell you how I got to where I'm at. I know it's like, man, story time. What? Well, I promise that this story will make sense in the end. Okay. So this is student Kelly. This is me. I think I drew this back in like 2019. I had bright pink hair, funny enough. But in 2020, I was a student at the Academy of Art University. I was a huge knowledge seeker, so I was doing art all day long, trying to find new ways, new techniques of working, right? I was obsessed with understanding every facet of art possible, which means I practiced all types of art, which includes realism all the way to stylized, even like cartoony stuff for like Pixar and stuff. But with that, that means I had no direction and I did all types of artwork. Now, that sounds awesome because then you know a lot of stuff, right? But in the end, for your portfolio and for hireability purposes as a student, that's not so great. So this is what my portfolio in 2020 looked like. And I know it's 2025, right? Things have sped up between now and then, crazy. But anyways, this is my portfolio in 2020. And my portfolio was full of work that I did in school, which also is not so great because you don't really want to use your schoolwork in your portfolio, right? Your portfolio is supposed to be things that are more niche and things you create outside of school because school is about learning and practicing, right? Anywho, so as you can see here, my portfolio was not clear as to what I do and who I am and what kind of job I want because I had goodness gracious, horror realism in the left-hand corner. I was doing character expressions and then full-blown like 30-hour illustrations at the bottom. And then I was also attempting character design. So I was kind of all over the place. Now, I couldn't understand as to why when I was submitting my portfolio to jobs and, asking for contract work, freelance, whatever, why I was getting rejected and why I was never met with a yes, always no's. So, as you all should do, if you're getting no's, seek out help, right? So I sought out help. I shot so many different messages to different artists who are working in positions that I worked in or that I would like to work in. And, you're going to get a lot of no's, but some people will give you yeses. So I sought help from Tyler Edlin. He was one of the people that actually responded back, which was awesome. And he mentored me a little bit at his place called Brush Sauce Academy. So shout out to him. Tyler Edlin gave me the brutal truth, which was taking a look at my portfolio and telling me I'm good at many things, but I'm not great at one things. What one things? I'm not great at one thing, which matters a lot, right? That's because how can people trust me? How can people trust that I'm going to deliver something consistent and something up to quality? And if I'm spreading my skill set wide, then I'm not getting amazing at something in the sense of it's not going to be up to studio standards, right? Studio professional quality. So I made a game plan after that. I was like, you know what? If someone I look up to says that I'm not good enough, we need to change course here, right? So I created a fail-proof game plan, which is kind of what I'm going to want you to do, but we'll get into that, I promise. So I had this realization, right, because of Tyler Edlin, and I chose what I want to specialize in. So I scrapped my portfolio right after that, and I studied professionals who were in the spots that I wanted to specialize in. So that, came out to be Riot concept artist, right? Working on League of Legends, so stylized concept art. And so I studied those professionals, like everything possible, whatever they're doing. And my goal was just to get really, really darn good at it, right? So good that people can't ignore me. And that change, these 3 steps helped me land my first job. And, I actually kind of got offered the Riot internship alongside when I got offered a job too. So I'm serious. Changing your mindset and making sure that you're focusing in on one thing is so important. It changes the way people see you, right? So take a look at my portfolio from 2020 to 2021. What you're going to notice is that, okay, 2020, like we talked about, very diverse, no true direction, might be okay, but it's not specialized, right? So I completely scrapped it, and this was my portfolio in the beginning of 2021. Now, it's all character design stuff. It's all character design processes. So, like emotions and call outs and VFX and back views, sketches, all that good stuff that companies want to see. Now, I also made a very, very in-depth portfolio project by studying the Riot artists. This one was like the bread and butter, what got me the job, what got me my dream, internship position, which I couldn't even take because I had a job. Crazy, right? Anywho, so it's because I gave employers exactly what they want. So I landed the first job, I was offered the right internship, awesome. And it's because this project replicates the entire concept pipeline of the game industry, from, references down here to first concept ideations that are rough, not polished, right? And then I was exploring personality and heads and refined costuming, and then went to prop ideation, color palettes, emotions, action poses. Finally, the icing on the cake, which is the hook to get recruiters to look at you, to turn heads, is the render. And I mimicked an in-game render because I'm like, hey, look, you can see my design in your game, right? Right? So this mimicked the quality and the contents of my targeted studio, which is important, which is what I need you guys to do. And this just proves to employers that you can seamlessly fit into their team. So, why does this story matter? And how does this apply to you and what I'm about to tell you? I'm going to take a water break. Okay. So, how does this apply to you? If you are struggling to find work, or you are just now making your portfolio, this is going to boost your attractiveness to employers and have a higher chance of employment, which is our end goal, right? And your portfolio is going to stand out amongst the vast sea of other concept art portfolios because people just like to make pretty designs, pretty pictures, but there's not much thought, critical thinking, whatever behind it as to what is actually expected of you during the industry pipeline or during, working in it. So before we go into exactly what you should be putting into your portfolio, I need to pause here. I know, Kelly, another redirection. I know. Hold on. Trust me, this is really important. You need to know how to replicate professional level work first, just like I told you I did. I need you to understand this because if you can do this, I promise you, this is like 80% of the process. And once you understand this, you're going to have such direction and understanding of professional level work that the 20% is just going to be you drawing and putting this into action. So you're like, but shouldn't drawing be the majority of it? I don't believe that. This process worked for me, so it might work for you. I mean, it's different for everyone, right? So I'm just going to teach you the way I did it. So first off, what you must understand is what do you want to achieve and how do you achieve it? What do you want to be in the industry, right? Remember when Tyler Edlin told me to be great or amazing at one thing? This applies to the job position that you're trying to seek out. You need to be amazing at said company's style or amazing at replicating their process. So my advice to you is to find a target job and position and art style, right? So for me, it was Riot Games. So that's your target, right? Because the diversity what am I trying to say? The diverse industry can cause a lot of confusion and loss of direction if you don't set goals for yourself. And in turn, this makes a poor portfolio because your portfolio is going to be confused. It doesn't know what it's trying to achieve or be, just besides the fact that, oh, I want a job, right? And that's not enough. And this helps you to prioritize and purposefully create things. So your work is no longer going to be directionless. It also kind of eliminates a lot of art block. So I know if you have art block out there, this really helps with it. And this will help to double down on niche learning, which in turn is going to boost your skills tenfold, because this is something that I would call effective studying, because you are learning the ins and outs of one specific thing. Because again, if you're trying to learn realism and stylize and whatever, then you're never going to get good or you're never going to get great at your intended position or your intended job. You know what I mean? So choose a studio first. This is why I say choose a studio, because if you are kind of aimless and you're like, I just want to get in the game industry, you might end up with something like Horizon Zero Dawn art style and League of Legends art style. And those two things in your portfolio, at least as a junior, does not communicate that you will be delivering, up to quality or up to this team's art style standards. And it's just going to cause more confusion. Now, if you are a senior or you're well known in the industry, you have some footing, some experience to back you, then go buck wild. Whatever, go buck wild, because then maybe you can go into art direction and start from the ground up, or creative direction, whatever, right? You're selling you as a person and your ability to think differently and be a creative asset to the team, no longer just production and pushing work out, right? Okay, so we don't want to do this. Now, to replicate the quality bar that I'm talking about, we need to find professionals that are in the positions that you want to be. Let's just use Borderlands as an example, and analyze these artists who are on that team, right? So in my class, I have students take a week or two to actually do this analysis. And I have them do very, very complex pure ref boards, because I want them to start thinking like a designer and thinking like someone who will narrow in their vision and study and improve faster than their peers, because I want them to get a job. I want them to be successful, right? So I'm having them put this into practice. Now, this is my student's pure ref board, little snippets. His name's Connor. Awesome stuff. So he found people in the positions that he wanted to be in, which he wanted to be in, working on Borderlands at Gearbox. So he took the official artwork and analyzed what they were doing. And what's awesome is he also broke down each individual artist's art style and takeaways. He wrote down all the takeaways from each individual artist, because everyone's going to be slightly different, right? No matter if they're working on the same team or same project, right? Oh, good. Sorry.
You're doing
Water went
great.
down the wrong pipe.
There's a ton of questions in the chat, by the way. Would you rather
We can
that
start going through it.
Sure, okay. Just make sure that you're not
I'm not dying. I
you're
just
not dying.
tried to
That's
rush
really
a sip.
important. So.
Okay, go for it.
So just going back a little bit, when you were talking about Tyler being your mentor, Jay Elzine asks, what makes mentors what makes the mentors that you look up want to mentor you?
Tenacity. You need to have immense tenacity. Like, I am going to get in this industry no matter what, and I need to find a way in. So I need you to help me. And if you're going to help me, that's awesome, because I'm going to kick booty and you're going to see me succeed, right? You want to see that personality. You want to see that trait in a person.
That's a good tip. My mentor was Charles Zambillas, who designed Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. And
Right on.
I have people sometimes go like, how do I get a mentor? And I say, it's kind of like saying, you know what? I think I should get a girlfriend. I think a girlfriend would be really good for me. And it's like part of that process is deciding that that's something you want, but you can't like, there's no specific thing that you can do necessarily except putting yourself out there, being open, being like very serious. That's definitely a factor for sure. Like showing that you're very
Yeah.
serious. Industry people like to see that.
Oh, yeah, that's a great comparison, Molly.
Esther Gallen says, I was wondering if you're interested in both concept art and illustration, let's say character design, like Kelly is showing, and let's say more narrative illustration in a similar style, what should one do here?
You need to choose. If you don't have experience in the industry, choose. Because, eventually you can touch upon your other love, right? Which maybe you're going to choose concept art for characters. And you're like, but I love illustration. I'm heartbroken. Don't be heartbroken because maybe 5 years in, you still, fix up your illustration skills on the side while you're working as a character concept art and you start putting them in your portfolio over time and you can bounce back and forth between, contract for illustration and full time for concept, whatever. But seriously, choose one.
Certainly, yeah. Lucas Leupold asks, would you include former job positions such as UI art or graphic design in your portfolio, even if you're focusing on, say, concept art?
Nope. If you are switching profession, and you were a UI UX person beforehand, and you don't have experience as a concept artist, you want to leave out the UI UX stuff because again, you're going to be treated as a junior in that discipline. So only concept art.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, you are a professional. This is a thing that that comes up a lot with on LinkedIn where people say aspiring, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible idea. You are an artist. If you're making art, you are
Yes.
an artist. You don't need to undersell your art. Like
Yeah, agreed.
Janet Kenley asks, do you feel that being great at concept art and coding, for example, C++, makes you a better candidate? That's a very interesting question. I guess it depends on the client.
Yeah, that will depend on the client. Again, I think specializing is much better as a younger artist, but don't be afraid to at least drop that on your resume because, one of the things, an interview about 2 years ago, I had Unity and Unreal on my resume, and the recruiter was like, I've never seen this on a concept artist resume. So that same thing can apply to you where it's like, C++, what the heck is an artist doing with this, right? But just don't show it in your portfolio. Just list it as a skill.
That's a good suggestion, yeah. I did say there were a lot of questions. If you would like to save some for later and continue the presentation, please interrupt me. But
Okay, we could do one more. Let's do one more.
okay, one more for now. Keep your questions coming, please. I am taking note of all of them, you guys, and it's great to see everybody getting excited. So Gabriella uh, Viria Viria asks if I am interested in character concept art, but also want to do illustration, for example, mobile games or similar things. Should I create two separate portfolios for each area, or should I focus on just one? If I am a beginner in the industry, I have no experience. Sweat emoji.
Yep, choose one. Same thing, choose one. Eventually, you can make two different portfolios because you'll have a little bit more weight and people will trust you. But just narrow in and get good at one.
All right,
Cool.
keep it going, guys, but we'll keep going with the presentation for now.
Let's do this, guys. Good questions, by the way. Okay, so we talked about finding professionals and analyzing them. More analysis coming your way. Fun. I'm talking about analyzing the like nitty gritty stuff, okay? Not just, oh, these are the artists on the team. No, I'm talking about I need you to put this stuff on a Photoshop file or a Pure Ref and literally circle things that you notice in their concept artwork. So preferably the professional work, right? Like if you're like, oh, I want to work at on League of Legends, then pull up the artist's professional work that they've done for League of Legends, right? And analyze that. But I'm talking about take notes, circle things, annotate, whatever. And you want to annotate annotate lol. You want to analyze the process from start to finish, which means, the ideations all the way to the orthographics and material sheets, whatnot. So design wise, you want to ask questions like, how are the shapes and details being used and distributed, right? How many concepts are these artists producing? Quality bar, right? How is the line work being constructed? Are they doing a lot of circular shapes? The lines are very flowy and organic, or is there a lot of a construction like 2XKO, Hicham Habshi does a lot of organic shapes that are constructed with straight lines. So it's almost architectural, right? And how do I know that? Okay, you study it. One of my students studied it in class. So awesome, right? Then you know how to replicate it, right? It's such small things, but they're important. You want to look at what's the sketchiness quality of the ideations. Are they sketchy? Are they really clean? Are they really tight? What is the render quality? And at what stage in the process is rendering present? Like League of Legends, fun fact, if you look at the way that they render metals, the highest value, the highlight on the metals, is in the shape of an I or an H. Now you're going to go back to the concept art and you're going to go, oh my God, I can't unsee it, because that's how they do it. It's funny. And you want to ask, like, where are the values distributed? Are the wider value range, up in the torso and up, and there's less value range from hips down, or is it distributed evenly throughout? And you also want to pay attention to the formatting and presentation as well. So how are the concepts organized on the page? How big is the chosen concept compared to the small ideations, right? Or the less refined ideations? Is there a header or a footer? Where is the project title and artist name located? This is all super important, because if you format your artwork in this way, it's going to automatically give you brownie points because it looks professional, right? All right. So I'm serious when I say the nitty gritty. I don't think many people have thought about this part, which I genuinely believe will set you apart from everyone else trying to fight for the same job as you. Gameplay and engine limitations. Now, even breaking this apart will show that you are a critical thinker and that you're thinking about your design in a sense that will work with, your intended studio job, right? That you want to get. So I chose DBD for a project, Dead by Daylight, sorry. And I broke apart things like the bones in each character. How many bones do they have for animation? Now, bones are basically like the parts that help things bend, right? So I'm going to have a bone in my upper arm and then a bone in my lower arm. So then that way, whoop, I can have some deformation there and move my arm, right? So you can analyze that. You can analyze how many swappable cosmetic spots there are. Like in Dead by Daylight, the base characters need to have 3 different sections that can be swapped out with other types of cosmetics. So like the top part, the hair, the midsection, which is the torso, the shirt, the backpack, whatever, right, is right there. And then the bottom section, which is the pants and shoes. And all of this, I know it sounds like crazy because you're like, Kelly, how the heck am I supposed to know this without playing with the model itself or working on the team? Well, it's extremely impressive to estimate this. It's just showing that you are trying to think about how your design affects people down the pipeline, right? It shows employers that you're thinking on a different level than other concept artists, because this is something that a lot of people don't think about, especially if you're a junior and you never worked in the game industry. And this also informs you how to approach your own designs. Now, you do want to have really unique out there designs, but it would be a great idea to have one or two portfolio pieces that really take this into consideration. Like if you want to do a skin for Borderlands, like our previous example, then if you're analyzing these kind of things and following their constraints, they're going to be blown away. You fit into their pipeline perfectly and probably think about more things than the artists that they currently have hired. So, great idea to attempt this. Now, congratulations, guys. You're now ahead of 99% of other artists now. Your thinking skills have improved immensely. Okay.
Did you say that you hyper focused and within a year you had an internship at Riot earlier?
Yes, it
Yeah, I'm
was
not surprised.
literally,
This focus is
yeah,
incredible, and breaking this down like this is so, yeah, that's incredible.
yeah. Yeah, no, seriously. I started, I think it was March. I took a class with, oh God, I always butcher her last name, On Dang, I think. And that was when, Tyler Edlin gave me that realization. And then by November, I got the job. And then, a couple months after that, right, it was like, hey, internship. And I was like, I already have a job. I'm so sorry. But if you're thinking like this, all that stuff that I just talked about was what set me apart. So if you're thinking like that, you're going to be set apart. Okay, so let's get into the contents of your portfolio projects, which is probably what you expected me to talk about to begin with. First off, we're going to have 8 things in the portfolio that are must-haves. Now, an image of your analysis that I just talked about. I know it seems like you're doing a lot, and it's like, well, it's not even about, the art I just made. Again, what's going to set you apart is showing off your critical thinking skills. So, I mean, yes, you could do it behind the scenes, but no one's going to know you think like this if you don't, flaunt it, right? So, this was my student Connor's entire board. He had more based on the specific project we were doing, but this was all about the analysis of the studio and stuff like that. But this, ooh, critical thinker, we like that, right? And this is super beneficial because, again, AI is a hot topic. All right. I'm not going to go deep into it, but um, what studios don't want you to know is there are a lot of places that do use it in the pipeline. And it is unfortunate. But with that being said, it's more important now than ever to show that you can critically think because AI is not replacing us, but it's being used as a way to speed up the process in the pipeline. And because AI is unable to think about how art and design affect other aspects of the pipeline, such as the engine and stuff like that, artists who understand this will have job security over others who don't, and they're going to land these jobs, right? So super important. This is the number one page in your portfolio. Then second page is rough design ideations. Now this is the quick thumbnails, 10 to 20 thumbnails across multiple pages, however many you can pump out. Please don't do just 5, you know what I mean? This is about range and not polish. So you don't need them to be pretty. You don't need them to have color or values. You could just smack them together, make them make sense, make the silhouette readable, make the big shapes readable. That's all that matters. Your motifs and the inner detail and design does not matter at this stage, okay? Why should you do this? This is going to prove that you're a designer and not a pretty picture maker. So, in turn, employers know that you won't choke when you're asked for putting out more ideas, right? It communicates that you understand that this stage in the pipeline is about ideas and not perfection. Then, clean design iterations is the third piece I recommend. We will have about, I would recommend like 3+ cleaner designs that you take from your previous ideations, right? And you're taking them a step further for clear and readable and decisive feedback from the team. Why? Because this shows you can filter out your own ideas to the strongest direction possible. And it proves that you can push ideas that are real rough, not fleshed out, to a cleaner state. And it's a more refined pass that the team can react to. So these ones are more about selling to like the product team, because the product team might not understand art at a thumbnail phase because it's too sketchy for them, right? You're trying to sell to someone that isn't very familiar with art. So this phase helps with that because it's much cleaner. And then next one would be the finalized design. Let me make sure. Yes. Next one would be the finalized design, which is a singular design that you've chosen from those cleaned up iterations, and you are solving it and polishing it to the fullest extent possible. So all the details are figured out, all the shape language and the balancing of big, medium, and small shapes, all figured out. This is like the greenlit product, the one that is going to be taken to the final. And why do we do this? It shows you can commit to a single direction. It resolves proportion, detail, and overall design clarity. And this is the final design that's going to be in game. So duh, you need to have it. You can't stop there, right? After you have chosen the design and cleaned it up, you should absolutely do color palette variants. You might have a color palette in mind already, but I mean, you're going to have to do variations on the job. So whether you want to do it or not, or whether you're like, but I know what this character is going to have, just do it. Just do it. I always fake it. I do like sometimes for personal pieces, or when I was first starting off, I would do the one that I really want. And then just for the portfolio, I would do the rest and be like, okay, it's just for show and tell, right? So I would recommend doing about 6. A few is good. Make sure that all the color palettes will accentuate the story that you're trying to tell with your design. Why? This is just to find what fits the design best, and it just shows that you're competent in colors and color exploration. Simple as that. The next one, this is the rendered design. This is the money shot, which means it is the most important part. You will render a clear 3/4 view or an in-game view. So you'll see on the far left, this is an in-game view, kind of MOBA-like, right? And that's just putting it into perspective of the game so that it's like, oh, look, you can envision my character in the game, can't you? And then 3/4 view is what's on the right. And why do you do this? It is the hook that is going to reel people into your project. It is the selling point. This is what the art directors and recruiters are going to see right off the bat, and this is what's going to make them want to click into your project, right? And this communicates IP fit to read like it could live in game. So like the MOBA view, that's a great example of that. All right, 2 more that I highly recommend. Orthographics and callouts. So that means a front view, a side view, and a back view of the character, flat with no perspective, in an A pose, which if you can see me on screen, which is like, it's like a triangle. I don't know. Okay. Anyways, it's like a triangle, kind of like actually, exactly like the example that I have. You're just making an A shape with your arms. Or a T pose, which is the arms straight out. Like models in games that are bugged, you're T-posing. And so that's really important because this is for 3D modelers, right? This is thinking about the rest of the pipeline. And you're also going to break out areas that are hidden, such as, clothing hidden underneath a loose cape or something. Things that need more explanation with callouts on the side. So you can see, like I did 2 separate versions of this character because she has a cape, right? And then so I broke it out and took the cape off so that 3D modelers have no questions. This shows that you understand the handoff phase, so it's super important. Like I said, 3D can build your design without guessing. It saves time and money because then there's no, back and forth, constant back and forth. Hey, what is this supposed to look like? Hey, right? They could just work. And it ensures consistency between your concept and the model. Because wouldn't you feel disappointed if your concept all of a sudden got skewed and changed in the model phase? Yeah, I would too. I would too. So that's why. And one last thing is the material sheet. Now, what material sheets are they are lol they are um, references, like real life references, or sometimes in-game textures. If you're already on a team, you're just pulling textures for people to understand how to hand paint certain objects. But they are basically material references, and they point to where these materials are being used on the concept. I usually do real life images if you're going to do like just portfolio pieces for yourself. Unless you're actually hired on a team, then they might have different, expectations. But real life images are safe. And again, why? Because same thing as orthographics, it removes the 3D guesswork that results to fewer back and forth conversations between you and the 3D person. Okay, so I do have another section, a little bonus round, but maybe we could take a couple questions before I change topics a little bit.
Certainly. This is really interesting. My pen can't keep up with all the information here. And for everybody's information, there will be a recording sent to your email. So if it's too quick or you're having trouble keeping up, you will be able to watch one at half speed and have it on loop as you sleep so that all of this really valuable information gets into your brain. I'm going to group some of the questions because there are so many and there's similar questions happening. One of them is you're talking about specialization and hyperfocus, which clearly works considering how quickly you were able to break in. However, there's questions about range, which is often a thing that sometimes clients ask for and could be potentially seen as a contradiction to what you're advising. For example, Clara says my portfolio consists solely of environment concept art, but most junior positions creates can create concept art for characters, props, icons, environments as a requirement. Should I still apply as a concept artist? And Olive also says, if we do the methods you're showing us, wouldn't that discourage cruisers from seeing that we can adapt to different styles easily? Would you like to touch upon that a little bit?
Yeah. Um, okay. So there are going to be studios that have different requirements. There are some indie studios in specific that want you to be a generalist because they just need someone. They need all, they need someone who can put all hands on deck and do all sorts of things because their budget is going to be a lot smaller, right? And especially in the current state of the industry with a lot of funding going towards AI, they are going to need to have a smaller budget. So you might just be one artist on a team, right? So this is quite specific to your wants. If you do want to work on a small indie dev team, like, maybe 10 people, whatever, then sure, doing generalist stuff is great. But I would highly recommend taking the time to understand each facet. So, like concept art, then environments, then maybe a little illustration. That will kind of give you enough spread to be able to work in those roles. But with AAA studios and even AA studios, they still are in this weird phase where they want specialists. So that's why I recommend this. Unless, it really depends on your goals, right? And then I'm so sorry. What was the second question from Olive?
Let me find it again. While I'm finding it, it's very interesting. You're quite correct about that. A lot of a lot of younger artists, like I've had students, for example, that seem to think that every single piece of art that they make should hypothetically get them hired. That's like deciding you're going to be an Olympic racer and therefore you have to win every race, like right from that
Hmm.
decision. That's not how that works. Like you have to build up into these positions. Olive asked, if we do the methods you're showing us, wouldn't that discourage recruiters from seeing that we can adapt to different styles easily?
Gotcha. Yeah, again, it's very similar to that where the answer I just provided, which is it depends on the studio you're going for. Adapting to different styles, at least for AA and AAA, is not going to be a problem because they are usually working on one big game. Sometimes, I mean, most of the time, a live service game. So you need to make sure you are amazing at that. But recruiters for indie studios, one, they're a lot more like relaxed because they're not looking for like the highest quality bar. They just need someone to perform, right, and do what they need. So again, it really depends on your goals, right?
Yeah. Another question that's come up a couple of times, Aidan has asked this, Siegfried has asked along these lines is it better to have a short portfolio versus a really long portfolio? Should it be long? What is the minimum number of projects you should put in your portfolio?
Great question. So that depends because if you have a long, mediocre portfolio, that's not good. And usually quantity will sacrifice quality. That's kind of how it goes. Unless you've been building this portfolio for years and years, if you have, 10 pieces in the span of a year, probably not the best idea. I only had, I think, 4 or 5. I think 4 actually when
Wow.
I got my job, just because I focused on quality, right? But anyways, so yes, it doesn't really matter how much you have in your portfolio. Just remember that you are only as good as your worst piece. So if you have less pieces and they are all up to standard, they're not going to judge you, right? But if you have many pieces and some are below the standard of others, they're going to assume that you will be putting out the worst because you're showing that you're not consistent. So, yeah.
It also shows a lack of sort of like professional eye, I find as well. Believe me, everybody, believe me, folks, professional artists have a mountain of awful drawings that go into their
Oh
amazing
yeah.
work. And they don't put every single piece on the portfolio. It takes that mountain of horrible drawings to get to the good stuff where you're ideating and trying out ideas and throwing them away. And if you put every single thing that you think will get you hired into your portfolio, when you have a brilliant piece, but you put that alongside a mediocre piece, it shows maybe it's just a coincidence that you made this piece that's up to snuff because they're hiring you to consistently produce that type of work for their project. So yeah, it's exactly what you're saying, Kelly. You have to think in terms of production and being useful to a production. That's what they're good. That's what's going to get you hired. That's different though to the work that's necessary to create good work. And separating those two is very important. There's one more question, super quick. I
Yeah.
want to throw in, and then I think we can continue from Anthony Wolf. Is there a place for 2D concept art anymore? Do you have to know how to bring those concepts to life with software like ZBrush? As a traditional frame by frame animator, I have opinions about this. You can imagine what they are, but please go ahead, Kelly.
um, there are still positions for completely 2D people. It, it is it is hard because, a lot of juniors or people who don't have experience are like, well, I just want to jump into the industry, right? And so that means they're busting out portfolio pieces when in actuality, their fundamentals might not be up to standard because you're competing with people who have years and years and years of experience and old heads who have been taught at Art Center to do construction lines for like every piece they're pumping out. So their perspective is like perfect. So if you want to be purely 2D and you don't want to touch 3D, you need to make sure you're up to that standard. So practicing fundamentals for, I would honestly say like 2+ years is so recommended. Do other things on the side to make money and just make sure that you're real freaking good, right? But yes, I think 3D is a fantastic tool. It just don't learn it if it's going to take away from the quality that you are going to be producing for your portfolio. Make sure that you feel very solid in your perspective and your design skills before you attempt learning that tool. But yes, it is super helpful. I use it almost every other day in my professional work because it just makes things quick, such as orthographics. So that's that.
I have the mentality of an old man. I'm a traditional frame by frame animator, and anything rigged or 3D, really like I just go, yeah, but I could just animate it. My brain is like that. So
Yep.
you're really good at something, like so good that people can't ignore you, and it makes your soul sing. And this is what you were put on this planet to do. I wouldn't want to take that away from anybody. Say, yeah, but you're not gonna get hired so easily. Like, there's a designer, Claire Hummel, who's very, very good at designing beautiful Victorian style dresses. And she made fan art of Disney princesses in steampunk outfits. When BioShock Infinite came around, they needed somebody who was able to design beautiful Victorian inspired outfits for the main character. And they hired her because she demonstrated she's really, really good and passionate at this thing that they happen to need for this production. So it's less about getting a job and more about getting the perfect job for you and your skills and your passion, I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Great addition, Molly.
Please continue your presentation, and I'll keep track of the rest of the questions.
All right, we'll run through it because I know I am so over time. Okay, so quick bonus round. I want to teach you guys a trick to having unique design language for when you're making your portfolio projects because there are too many really high quality, like rendered designs with basic shape language in their armor and whatnot with just triangles, squares, and circles. Now, those are the basics, right? We always need the foundation, but you need to be twisting these in order to have something unique and identifiable. So, we need to avoid boring designs because if you can have all that I talked about, but if your design's boring, that just squashes the entire project, right? So you don't want to fall into the section that I have on the left, which is this character that I did when I was a student. Anatomy is awful, by the way, but let's not focus on that. It literally just has the most basic of basic shapes and is made out of mostly diamonds and triangles. So, not interesting. The one on the right has different shapes. They're based from, a triangle and a circle, but they are much more complex than that. But at their base form, they're just pushed and pulled a little bit in different directions, and that helps create more unique shape language and motif within your design. So I'm going to teach you how to easily find shapes like this without having to come up with it off the top of your head. So really quick, this is what I do for unique shapes. I have step-by-step on the side as well for you guys to either screenshot or something to help you remember or write it down. Yeah, because we have notes. What I want you to do is I want you to pull an image that you find extremely interesting. It could be an object, it could be architecture, whatever you like. I chose this little guy. Then what you're going to do is you are going to you're going to take your image and you're going to go to adjustments. Now, by the way, this might not be on every program. I'm using Photoshop. You're going to go to adjustments and threshold. And what that is going to do is that's going to turn your image purely black and white. So it's going to separate the values into two, which means you can slide this little triangle around and search for shapes within this image. So what I'll do is I'll take a red pen and I'll go, oh, look, there's a weird kind of flower shape up in here. Okay, there's one shape that I could possibly use. Now, if I don't see anything else I like, let's adjust the threshold triangle yet again. Oh, I just found a another cool shape. Let me trace over this one. What the heck is this guy? Looks like a spear, right? Oops, sorry. I'm toggling on and off the ruler. Okay, all right. Let's do it one more time. Let's drag it all the way over here. Okay, well, I see a silhouette that's interesting. This one. Oh man, how cool. Now, when you're thinking about overall shapes, whether it's big shapes, your tiny details, or your medium shapes, you have interesting motifs that you can build upon. And so that's going to help you, like if you're designing a pendant, rather than doing a triangular pendant, well, now you might pull this guy, right? I think this layer. Yeah, now you might pull this guy and be like, oh my God, my pendant's going to be shaped like this. And instead of having the gem just inlaid right there, maybe the gem is inlaid like this. And then, oh, there's like leaf shapes here. Oh, look, you can pull from that. Because then now it's creating, look, it's creating that three-leaf shape that's right here, right? So trick to make your design language a little bit more interesting. And before I kind of wrap that up, I just want to let you know that I made a little goodie for you guys to take home. I think it'll be sent out through email after this with the recording. But I made an ultimate portfolio project checklist. So what that consists of is basically everything I talked about, but this way you can check these things off and make sure that you are applying all these principles to your future projects. So you'll have your like project title, whatever your target role that you want to go for, your influenced like your influences of artists, and then step by step, you have targets so that you can cross off each one, like job and studio target. You have a primary job goal. Okay, I picked one. Cool, check it off. Right, style and production analysis. I studied how they use detail versus rest in their designs. Check it off. Right, going down the list. Portfolio deliverable checklist. I did an analysis page. Cool. I did the color variants. I did a material callout sheet. And it just kind of tells you a little bit about what that entails too, right? And then also at the very, very, very bottom, it's just a little art director checklist of things that I feel like, they might be looking for, recruiters might be looking for. They can tell what role your design is playing, like the gameplay function, what genre or studio it's referencing. They can see one final production ready sheet, right? They see enough of your process to be able to trust you as an artist, whatnot. So this is the little sheet I made. I hope this helps. And that's what I got for you.
Wow, this was incredible. What this is, and there's goodies afterwards as well. Absolutely, that was absolutely fantastic, Kelly. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
So I think we may have time for one, maybe two more questions, but before we get there, I'm just going to replace the screen share
Gotcha.
and let everybody know that this fantastic lecture was made possible in part thanks to Wacom Yuify. Yuify allows you to embed into your digital artwork a micromark, an invisible digital fingerprint. That means that the original creator of the work is able to be traced back. This micromark is resistant to tampering. So even if your work is edited, even if your work is cropped, for example, your watermark or your signature is taken out, it's absolutely no problem. You can still verify that this artwork was created by you, thanks to the Uifinder, which is a browser-based image searching website. You merely simply drag and drop an image into the Uifinder, and if it is Uified, it will bring up a project with who the original creator is, the title, the portfolio of the artist, and whatever else they've included in the package. So how do you Uify a piece of art? Well, assuming that your work was created in a digital art program that supports Uify, you install it, and it's an option as in your tools, just like it would be for exporting a regular JPEG or a PNG. And once you do this, then you can add things to the project, such as the name of the project, the description, and so on. Yuify is currently supported by Clip Studio and Photoshop as plugins. And actually, it's also in Rebel 8. And in Rebel 8, it's built in, so there's no installation required. And Wacom is continuously expanding software that supports UEFI. So keep an eye out for maybe your favorite software will support UEFI soon. And a great way to know if this is happening is to join our Discord. Not only will you be up to date on all of the UEFI activities going on in news, but there's also fun community activities that happen there as well. It's also this QR code in this corner here. So going back to the lady of the hour, I highly recommend that you follow Kelly at Kelly Daley Art on all your favorite platforms. There she shares more great advice like we saw today, her wonderful artwork. And while you're online, I've also popped my Instagram handle at the bottom there as well. And so if you're feeling generous, maybe follow your host as well and check out her cartoons. And the QR code is visible there as well. So, whew, we are unfortunately out of time, but I want to thank you, Kelly, for this incredible information. I'm not surprised that you got hired as quickly as you did with this kind of focus. It's very difficult to stay that focused, but you did it. And I'm speechless. This was very, very interesting, even for me as somebody established in the industry. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you so much for tagging along with me, Molly, and helping me with this. I've had a great time. And thank you guys for asking such amazing questions. I really hope this helped.
We're getting a lot of thank yous in the comments. Lots of this was really useful. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated, everyone. And thank you, audience, for being here as well. It wouldn't have been the same without you and all your very, very good questions. So with that, I would like to say good night, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and keep making cool art.
Someone says Delulu is the Salulu. Yes, convince
Yes.
yourself you can do it.
Yes.